Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami, Prabhupada. The disciples of Bhattacharya said, "We derive knowledge of the Absolute by logical hypothesis." Gopinathacharya replied, "One cannot attain real knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by such logical hypotheses or arguments." Purport. The Mayavadi philosophers in particular make certain hypotheses about the absolute truth. The reason that in the material world we experience that everything is created, if we trace the history of anything, we can find a creator. Therefore, there must be a creator of this huge cosmic manifestation. By such reasoning, they come to a conclusion that a higher power has created this cosmic manifestation. The Mayavadis do not accept this great power to be a person. Their brains cannot accommodate the fact that the huge cosmic manifestation can be created by a person. They doubt this because as soon as they think of a person, they think of a person within the material world with limited potency. Sometimes the Mayavadi philosophers will accept Lord Krishna or Lord Rama as Bhagavan, but they think of the Lord as a person having material body. The Mayavadis do not understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, has a spiritual body. They think of Krishna as a great personality, a human being within whom there is a supreme impersonal power, Brahman. Therefore, they finally conclude that the impersonal Brahman is the supreme and not the personality Krishna. That is the basis of Mayavadi philosophy. However, from the Shastra we can understand that the Brahman effulgence consists of the bodily rays of Krishna. Yasya prabha prabhate jagat ananda koti kotisva sesha vasudhadi vibhuti binanam tad brahma niskalam anantam asesa bhutam govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. I serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, the primeval Lord, the effulgence of whose transcendental body is known as Brahma Jyoti. That Brahma Jyoti, which is unlimited, unfathomable, and all-pervasive, is the cause of the creation of unlimited numbers of planets with varieties of climates and specific conditions of life. Brahma Samhita 540. The Mayavadi philosophers study the Vedic literature, but they do not understand that in the last stage of realization, the absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. They do accept the fact that there is a creator of this cosmic manifestation, but that is Anuman, hypothesis. The Mayavadi philosopher's logic is something like seeing smoke on the hill and conclude there is a fire. When there is a forest fire in the high hills, smoke is first of all visible. Since it is known that smoke is created when there is fire, from seeing smoke on the hill, one can conclude that fire is burning there. Similarly, from seeing the cosmic manifestation, the Mayavadi philosophers conclude that there must be a creator. The disciples of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wanted evidence to show that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was actually the creator of the cosmic manifestation. Only then would they accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original cause of creation. Gopinathacharya replied that one could not understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by guesswork, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 7.25. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavritaha mudhayam nabhijananti loka mam jana avyayam. I am never manifested to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my eternal creative potency, Yoga Maya. And so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. The Supreme Personality of God reserves the right of not being exposed to non-devotees. He can only be understood by a bona fide devotee. Lord Krishna says elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita, 1855, bhaktya mam abhi jananti. One can understand me only by devotional process. In the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, 4.3, Lord Krishna says, Bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hi etat uttamam. Here Lord Krishna informs Arjuna that he is disclosing the secrets of the Bhagavad Gita to him because he is a devotee. Arjuna was not a sannyasi nor a Vedantist or a Brahmana. He was, however, a devotee of Krishna. The conclusion is that we have to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself says, Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata Bij. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 19, text 151. More evidence can be cited to show that without the mercy of the devotees or the mercy of Krishna, one cannot understand what is Krishna and what is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in the next verse. Om Jnana Trimanandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshuzunmitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Vanchakalpatrubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyecha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in this purport, Prabhupada is very clearly establishing the fact that to understand Krishna, one must first become his devotee. Without becoming a devotee of Krishna, this transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Personality as he is cannot be understood. Even great personalities who are supposed to be self-realized cannot understand. Now, Prabhupada cited from the Brahma Samhita here, where Lord Brahma is speaking about how the effulgence of the Lord is emanating from his body, and is so powerful, and is the cause of all creation in the material world. And then the last final line of the verse is saying, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. That I accept him as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now this is the treatise written by Brahma himself. But even Lord Brahma understands that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes he becomes deluded also. We have understood that Brahma was deluded when he saw Krishna playing with so many coward friends. And Brahma was thinking, who is this boy where everybody is glorifying him and worshipping him and adoring him? I will teach him a lesson. So of course we understand from the Krishna book that Brahma came and by his mystical powers he stole all the calves and all the coward boys. And then Brahma thought, now let us see what is the power of this boy. And of course, in Brahma's time, it was just a moment where he took the boys and the calves away and hid them somewhere. And when he came back, he saw all the cows, all the calves, and all the coward boys are still minding their own business, going on about the normal activities. So Brahma is kind of wondering, how is it possible? I just took everyone away, and all of a sudden they are all here. Of course, he could not understand the transcendental potency of Krishna. And it is explained by Prabhupada in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, or rather the Krishna book. He's explaining that during the time when Brahma took away the calves and the coward boys, for him it was a moment, but on the planet here, on earth, it was 1 year. And for 1 year, Krishna had manifested himself as so many coward boys and calves. And it is explained by Prabhupada in that story of Krishna, in Krishna book, that during that period, all the mothers had super extra affection for their children, not knowing that their children is none other than Krishna himself. So they could not understand this. And all the cows were also affectionate towards their calves. Now you remember, when Krishna came of age, he was given charge to take the calves for grazing. Grazing means that now the baby cows are no more feeding on mother's milk. They're just eating grass. But the cows were so much overjoyed by their older calves that they started giving a profuse milk and feeding them. Balaram was thinking, something is not right here. He was wondering, what is going on here? Prabhupada makes a very nice point there, that when Brahma came to steal all the calves and covered boys, Balaram was not present. Anybody knows why he was not present? Yeah, it was Balaram Jayanti. So Mother Rohini kept him back and said, no, today is your birthday. We want to offer you praises and show our affection for you and celebrate the birthday. So Balaram stayed back. And meanwhile, Krishna was going on about his normal business. And Brahma came and stole. And moment later, of course, when Brahma comes back, 1 year has gone past. And then this time, when Brahma comes, he sees all the calves, all the covered boys are there, and all the cows are feeding their milk to the little calves, and all the covered men are all so much with joy and love, embracing their little boys. And Brahma is saying, what is going on here? And then, of course, Krishna, by his mystical potency, removed the illusion from Brahma. And all the calves and all the covered boys manifested as Vishnu forms. As Prabhupada explains, Vishnu Murtis. And they were all there with 4 hands, and hundreds and thousands of cows and covered boys were there. Now can you imagine? It wasn't just a handful. Prabhupada is saying there was hundreds of thousands, 100,000 calves and 100,000 covered boys. So it's a huge amount. And all of them are showing the potency of the Lord, manifesting as Vishnu Murti. And Brahma was completely bewildered by seeing all this. And then finally he realized that this young boy is none other than the same Supreme Lord whom I am meditating on, whom I am worshipping. Because of course, when Brahma, in his original understanding, when he was born from the lotus flower, from the navel of Vishnu, he was meditating on the Lord. And then the Lord revealed himself to him as the transcendental Vishnu form and gave him the knowledge, which then Brahma imparted that knowledge onto his sons, and he came down in paramparic line, that knowledge. Now Brahma was completely in the illusion there. He could not understand. So we can understand from this pastime of our Lord Brahma and Krishna that even the great devotees can be illusion and they cannot actually understand who Krishna is. Another incident was, at one time, Brahma, he wanted to visit Sri Krishna, so he came to Dwarka. And with great pride, he came to Dwarka on his swan, landed in front of the gates, and then told the gatekeepers, please let the Lord know I have come. Immediately, the gatekeepers went to the Supreme Lord and said, Brahma is here. And Krishna said, yes? Which Brahma is here? Now, the gatekeepers were also kind of wondering, why is Krishna asking which Brahma? Because as far as they are concerned, there's only one Brahma. And Brahma himself also thinks he's the only Brahma. So the gatekeepers came and said, dear Lord, please tell me which Brahma are you? Brahma said, it's me. I am the 4-headed Brahma, the father of the 4 Kumaras. So then the gatekeeper goes back to Krishna and says, it is the 4-headed Brahma, the father of the 4 Kumaras. Oh, really? Okay. Please invite him in. And Prabhupada is saying that why Krishna asked which Brahma? So Brahma is a post. It's a position. But that position can be occupied by many different Brahmas. As we know, that at the end of this Brahma's life, he will get liberation and he will go back to the spiritual world. And another suitable candidate will come and sit in the position of Brahma and take over the next yuga of the millennium, which continues cycle of creation and annihilation and recreation and annihilation and goes on. So that Brahma will then again start his whole creation and create a new universes, new living beings, which we don't have access to that knowledge because we, with our tiny brains, cannot even comprehend whatever is available to us now, what to speak of, beyond. So when Brahma goes inside and he pays his obeisances to Lord Krishna, Krishna wanted to teach Brahma that don't be so proud that you are the creator of this universe. So by meditation, Krishna sends transcendental messages, or what we call in our modern day world, SMS, to all the Brahmas in different universes. And one by one, all the Brahmas started popping in. And Prabhupada is saying there were Brahmas with 1,000 heads, 10,000 heads, 10 million heads. Now, can you comprehend something like 10 million heads? For us, it's unimaginable. But as devotees, we accept the fact that whatever Krishna says is absolute and perfect. Because Krishna is an all-perfect being, therefore he cannot say something which is not imperfect. Although in our tiny brains we cannot comprehend that. But nonetheless, that pastime is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is explaining that pastime and elaborating on in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Anyway, the whole point is that when Brahma sees all these Brahmas with so many heads, then he realizes that I am not the only Brahma. And then Krishna says, actually you only have 4 heads. And all the other Brahmas have like more than 4 heads. And according to the size of the universe they are maintaining and creating, that many heads they have. So you have the tiniest of the tiniest universe ever. And then Brahma realizes. So, of course, we can understand that this personality of Sri Krishna as mentioned in this verse cannot be understood ordinarily. It can only be understood if it is revealed to you by the Supreme Lord. Even though if you read in the Bhagavad Gita all the wonderful explanations Krishna has given to Arjuna, how he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is showing him his universal form and so forth. And the scriptural conclusions we have by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Krishna's wonderful creation is described, Krishna's beautiful qualities are described, Krishna's personality is described, Krishna's greatness is described. We have all this, but still we don't understand who Krishna is unless and until we develop love for Krishna. As Prabhupada is saying from the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself says, if you want to know me, bhaktya mam abhijananti. By the process of devotion, you can know me. Otherwise, you cannot know me even if I'm in front of you. There's another nice story of Hanuman. When Hanuman was in the forest of Panchavati, Kiskinda, and from very young age, Hanuman was devotee of the Supreme Lord. He never seen him, but he was always meditating on the Lord in his heart, because he had heard from the great sages about the glories of the Supreme Lord. So he was a devotee of Lord Rama. And one time he was waiting on the hills and meditating on Lord Rama. And what happens? A great sage goes past by. And as Hanuman sees the great sage, he immediately falls at his feet and holds on to his feet and says, "Oh, great sage, you are the knower of the Supreme. Can you tell me when I will see my Lord? I want to see him face to face." He says, "Hanuman, you are in luck. Very shortly, your Lord Ram is going to come here and is going to pass in front of you. Keep your eyes wide open and be vigilant. You will see him." And Hanuman was sitting there with full attention, his eyes wide open, and he's looking, and he's looking. And guess what happens? There is 2 beautiful young boys in the prime of the youth, Ramji and Lakshmanji. going towards south, looking for Mother Sita. And Hanuman sees these two young, beautiful princes, of course, dressed in the garb of renunciates, because they had renounced the kingdom by the vow was taken by Dasharatha to Kaikeyi, so they had to go to the forest as mendicants. Anyway, Hanuman sees them and says, here's two young sages. He pays them obeisances and says, goodbye, I am looking for my Lord Ram. So he showed his respect to the two young princes, Ram and Lakshman, and they went on their business. And Hanuman is sitting there and saying, oh, my Ram, my Lord Ram, when is coming, when is coming? The same sage moments later came back on the reverse path and saying, Hanuman, did you see your Lord Ram? Hanuman says, no. So, what do you mean no? They just went past here moments earlier. So I saw two young sages go past, but I didn't see my Lord Ram. Of course, Hanuman had a concept in his mind, in his heart, of Lord Ram as the king of Ayodhya, dressed in all the fineries with the crown and the chariot and all this expectation of what Ram is and how Lord Ram would be. He didn't expect Ram to be in the clothing of a sage. So that was his expectation. And that is what he was looking forward to. But of course, Lord can come in any form he likes. And he can, present himself in many unlimited ways. As we all know from the description Prabhupada is given, that Ananta says with his 1,000 heads, with 1,000 tongues, is reciting all the transcendental beauties of the Lord, and he's not repeating one time. And it's not just short time, half an hour class. Ananta says is from the beginning, he's always reciting. It's from the beginning of time. Nobody knows when time began. So can you imagine this span of time when Ananta says is glorifying the Lord unlimitedly? So Hanuman could not recognize. Then he realized, then he started running after to these young princes and fell at their feet and said, my Lord, I didn't recognize you. And the Lord said, that's because you are expecting something different. You have preconceived ideas. You have to look at me from your heart in the mood of devotion. And when you see me in the heart, in the mood of devotion, then I will reveal to you who I am. Because otherwise, the Lord cannot be revealed. So in this purport, Prabhupada is spending a lot of time specifically describing Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and his disciples, that even though they were Vedantists, knowledge in Vedanta, still they cannot understand the conclusion of who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They can go as far as the Brahman effulgence and not go beyond. So even if you know all the scriptures, still you cannot understand the Lord unless the Lord reveal himself. As the Lord says himself, Bhaktya Mam Abhijananti, that only by devotion you can know me. And of course in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tesam satatam yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam. That I give you the intelligence when you are doing bhajatam priti purvakam, when you are worshipping me with love and devotion. Now, how would you worship the Supreme Lord with love and devotion? Is a question mark. Because unless and until you know the Lord, you cannot worship him. You have to know the Lord in order to worship him. Otherwise, there you go. He's revealing himself now to us. So he's a transcendental Lord. He's here since 1973, Janmashtami. His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. He invited the lordships here in Radha Gokulananda's form. And he has come here. And since then, he is giving audience to hundreds and thousands of devotees. And hundreds and thousands of devotees come here, especially those who have been here a long, long time. I've seen that when I first came to Bhaktivinoda Manor in 1979, we had almost like 150 devotees living in the temple. It was buzzing with devotees. Every nook and corner there was devotees. Every space was occupied by devotees. But the guests who were coming for darshan were a handful. Monday to Saturday, hardly anybody came. Only the devotees residing in the ashram. On a Sunday afternoon, 50 to 100 devotees would come. And at 7:30, after the Sandhya Aarti is finished, the curtains close, and the Kirtan leader is saying Prema Dhwani, and even before finishing the Prema Dhwani, shoo, most of the guests are gone. They are left. And there's nobody here except the lordships and the devotees. Everybody's gone. But over the years, more and more devotees are coming as the glories of Gokulananda is spreading. And as more and more people get to know about Gokulananda's great, glorious presence here at the Bhaktivinoda Manor, more and more devotees are coming, more and more guests are coming to take darshan, to the extent that we have to buy the 2 fields to accommodate the parking and queue system. And you have all those who experience, of course, this year, 2020, Janmashtami was a bit of a damper due to Mr. Corona. But the previous year, so many guests came here. Now, thousands of guests have come here and gone. And some of them come regularly. And they come here, they bow down to Gokulananda. But do they know Gokulananda? Does the Lord reveal Himself to them? Because as soon as the Lord reveals Himself to you, what happens to you? Anyone? What happens to you when the Lord reveals Himself to you? Huh? No, that is a byproduct. You feel love because you see Him and immediately you develop love for Him. Because now you understand the Lord. He's not on technical level as is explained here. The hypothesis and understanding some technicality of the Supreme Lord. But you actually understand the Supreme Lord, just like Mother Yashoda is holding her darling Krishna in her hand and embracing him and kissing him. She doesn't want to let go of him because she has so much love for him, to the point that her heart is so full of love for Krishna that her breast is oozing with milk. And this is the description given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in Krishna book. Prabhupada explains how Mother Yashoda is full of love and joy for Krishna. That would be our condition. Another condition explained by in the Bhagavatam is when Dhruva Maharaj was seeking the audience of the Supreme Lord. And he said to his mother, "Mother, where can I find this God, Bhagavan? Because my stepmother says I have to take birth in her womb in order to sit on the lap of my father, and this is injustice upon me. You are equally the queen. And how comes this injustice?" And of course, Mother Suniti says, "I am helpless. But I know who can help you, Bhagavan." So he said, "Where is this Bhagavan?" Now, Prabhupada explains that Suniti was actually a very self-realized soul. She actually understood Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore he said, only He can help you. So, of course, he was advised to find Him in the forest. So he goes to the forest in search of the Supreme Lord. But he cannot just go to the forest and you find Krishna hanging around. Because he had sincere desire in his heart to find Krishna, then Krishna arranges the transcendental arrangement for Dhruva Maharaj to meet the great sage Narada Muni. And then Narada Muni says, "Okay, what are you doing here, young boy? You are a prince. You brought up in the fineries and luxuries of the palace. Forest is no place for you. Go back." And Dhruva Maharaj, of course, brought up with culture as a prince, he paid his respect to Narada Muni, and all glorious words were told to Narada Muni in glorification of a great sage. But then, you must understand that Dhruva Maharaj is a young boy, but he's a Kshatriya. He has Kshatriya pride. So he said to Narada Muni that, "All glories to you, great sage, but if you're not going to help me, out of my way. I want to go and find this God. I want to find Bhagavan. I want to speak to Him." So he had such an intense desire, although his desire in the beginning was for a different purpose. It wasn't for spiritual advancement, or developing love of Godhead and serving Him, as Prabhupada many times keeps repeating and telling us, our constitutional position is Jivere Swarupa Hoy Nitya Krishna Das, that we are eternally servants of Krishna. We have forgotten Him. Therefore, we have to remind ourselves to the process of bhakti to come to that platform and reawaken this knowledge in our mind, in our heart, that we are actually servants of Krishna and therefore we serve Krishna in love and devotion. So Dhruva Maharaj is asking Narada Muni, if you're not going to help me out of my way. But of course, as mentioned here in the Prabhupada saying, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Brahma te Brahmite Gon Bhagyavan Jiv, Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Lata. From the highest planet to the lowest planet, who is that fortunate soul who receives the mercy of Guru and Krishna, thereby getting the seed of devotion in the heart, which then later on, by pouring the waters of devotion through the holy name, fructifying the seed of devotion and manifesting devotion in the heart. So Narada Muni gives in the transcendental mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And then Dhruva Maharaj understands from Narada Muni the principles of bhakti and how to achieve the highest goal. And then he goes, as a young 5-year-old boy, deep into the forest, finds a nice secluded place where nobody is disturbing him. And he sits down for his deep meditation. And then doing tremendous austerities to the point that he was suffocating the whole universe because he stopped his breath. And all the demigods ran to Brahma and said, Hey Brahma, we are suffocating by these boys' austerities, do something. Lord Brahma goes to Lord Vishnu on the ocean, the treasure ocean, and he cannot even go further than that. But at the shores of the ocean, he is holding his hands and praying to the Lord. And then Lord says, What do you want, Brahma? Oh, please, Lord, only you can solve this situation. The universe is suffocating. Although I am the creator, I create everything here, but I cannot stop it suffocating because this young boy, through his austerities, is suffocating the whole universe. So he says, okay, no problem. I am the well-wisher of all living entities. I will go and do my business. So Lord Vishnu appears before Dhruva. And as soon as Dhruva Maharaj sees the beautiful form of the Lord and the effulgence coming from him, what does Dhruva do? Immediately he gets up and falls at the feet of Vishnu and he feels unconscious. Because he was so overwhelmed at the beauty of Krishna. And of course Krishna understands the situation of his devotee, as we saw earlier in this chapter, how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord himself, when he sees the form of Lord Jagannath in the temple, he could not hold back and he just felt unconscious, overwhelmed by the beauty of Jagannath. So, of course, that is the consequences when you actually see the Lord, when he reveals himself to you, not with his eyes, but the eyes of the heart, the eyes of devotion, as again, Brahma Samhita says, when your eyes are anointed with love of Godhead, then you can see the Lord. The Lord reveals himself. So when Dhruva Maharaj was fortunate enough to have audience of the Lord, and the Lord with his transcendental wand puts it on his forehead, and Dhruva comes to consciousness. And when he comes to consciousness, then he sees the form of the Lord. And he just is so awestruck, completely struck by beauty and everything. But because of the touch of the conch shell on the head of Dhruva, he began to speak beautiful prayers in glorification of the Lord. And as he was saying all these prayers, the Lord says, it's okay. I've heard this all before. I've been praised since eternity. All my devotees are always praising me. Let's come to the real business end here. Why did you do all this tapasya? What was the point? What did you want? What do you want? Dhruva says, now that I have seen you, dear Lord, I have no desires. I don't want anything. I just want your lotus feet. This is the position of a devotee who gets the transcendental audience of the Lord. When we are actually in that position, when the Lord reveals himself to us, then that is the point when we forget everything. And only thing that matters to us is the lotus feet of the Lord. We just hold on to it and I will just serve you any way I can. Just let me serve you. All I want is serve, serve, and serve. Nothing else. Because we are in a transcendental spiritual consciousness, then you never get tired of serving. Of course, all of us, unfortunately, we don't have transcendental bodies as yet, but someday by the mercy of Radha Gokulananda and Srila Prabhupada, definitely we will get transcendental body, which will never get exhausted and tired of serving the Lord. But while we are unfortunately in this conditioned state, we find that if we are overwhelmed with service, especially festival times, then morning till night you have so much service that you don't have time to even take a breather. You don't have even time for anything, and you get so exhausted. So this festival is over so quick, that I can take a break and sleep for a few more hours. That is our condition. But for one who has developed love for Krishna, who understands the Supreme Lord, he doesn't feel exhausted. In fact, the more he serves, the more energetic he becomes, the more enthusiastic he becomes to serve more and more and more. That is the condition of a living entity when they are fully realized and the Lord has revealed himself to that particular person. So here in this purport, Prabhupada is spending a lot of time explaining how the followers of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and his disciples were so much fixed in the conclusion that the Lord is an impersonal form of the Lord. Not beyond that they cannot understand. That is the highest absolute they can understand. Even though, as Prabhupada says, that they may accept Krishna or Rama as personalities, but they think they are material just like you and me. They have got bodies just like you and me. But of course, Krishna's body is not like you and me. You and me, day by day, we get older and older and older. As we age, we find the pangs of old age, suffering which comes along with it, and tiredness, and so many different problems come with old age. We never read anywhere in Krishna about that Krishna became old and he was suffering in his old age. He didn't go and see a physician to get some medication. Brahma Samhita explains his Navayogana, ever youthful and ever fresh. So he is always fresh and youthful. He never ages beyond 16. Even though when he was in Dwarka, when he concluded his pastimes in Dwarka at the age of 125, he manifested his pastimes from the Vrindavan pastimes to concluding pastimes in Dwarka. When he concluded his pastimes and went back to the spiritual Goloka, he was 125 years in material terms. Now, we all know that if someone is 125-year-old, would be probably walking with a Zimmer frame and not, in full youth, doing things which a young person does. Anyway, so Krishna is ever youthful, ever fresh, and Mayavadis cannot accept that. That's why even Prabhupada was very much emphasizing that even though you may be a devotee of Krishna, unless until you go beyond the external effulgence and creation of the Lord and go into the depth of Goloka, you will never understand the Supreme Lord. Although we hear about Him all the time, we read about Him all the time, we come to the temple room here, we see beautiful Radha Gokulananda, and do we get the same spirit as Dhruva Maharaj? Now that Lord, I have seen you with my eyes, I have no other desire but you, my dear Lord. We have many desires lurking in the heart, in the mind. And Krishna says, as long as you have this, then there is going to be a thin curtain of Yoga Maya which will prevent you from going further and seeing the Supreme Lord. So the only way we can see the Supreme Lord, as Prabhupada mentions, Bhaktyamam Avijanati, through devotion. And we have great saintly persons who have given us tremendous literatures in the art of bhakti, the art of devotion, how we can manifest our devotion for the pleasure of the Lord. And the only way we can do that is that we sincerely start praying to Krishna. That I understand this technically, how I should perform bhakti. But I want to go beyond technicality. I want to be practical in my devotion. To do actually, offer my service with love. We all have this experience of love in the material world. Of course, first and foremost love which we experience is love for our father and mother. More mother than father. Because from the very birth, mother is nurturing us and developing that close bond with us. So when we develop that close bond with the mother, then obviously, your first love is your mother. And then later on, when you grow up and the body changes to adulthood, then you begin to develop love for another person. And you may go through a number of loves before you find true love, as I say. And when you find true love, then you join the bond in matrimony, and you become husband and wife. But even then, we see that husband and wife bond doesn't last long. Although all religious principles says, except for one religion, which is not a religion, but is a political force, we'll not go into that. But Prabhupada said that when you get married and take your vows in the 5 yajna, you are taking vows in front of the Yajna Purush, which is the Supreme Lord Himself, that till death do you part. In fact, in our Vedic tradition, it says for 7 births, you will be husband and wife. Never mind this one life, for 7 births. I don't think we should pray for 7 births. We should pray for this one birth and go back to Godhead. Not to come for 7 births, like Jai Vijay, for 3 births, they're coming as demons. And then finally, of course, they had option to go back home to Godhead. So we should not even worry about 7 births, and this is my last birth and finish with it all. But given that love is not strong, then we develop love for material things. Some people love their iPhones, their Apple Macs, and this, that, and other, and they are so much, love for all these material things. When we develop love for Krishna, is different. So we actually have to pray to the Supreme Lord, and dear Lord, please show me how to love you. Only by your mercy I can understand how to love you. Because with my tiny little brain and my tiny little heart here, although it has got capacity to love the wrong kind of things. I want to love you, dear Lord. So when we have that prayer, sincere prayer, then one day the Lord says, you are always crying for me, asking for my love. How to love me? How to understand me? Okay. I will give it to you. Because the Lord is not going to easily give you and dispense His love very easily. Because it is said, Srila Prabhupada explains, that when you actually develop transcendental love for the Supreme Lord, means you have purchased Him. He will dance to your tune. If you have a tinge of materialism in your heart, and you have control of Krishna, you are definitely going to make Him do things which are not pure love. Try to fulfill gratification of senses. So Krishna is not going to be sold out to you unless He is 100% sure that you are sold out to Him. That's why even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarva Dharmam Parijata, give up everything. When you have fulfilled that condition of giving up everything, all dharmas, and this is not Prabhupada saying dharma is religion, but he's saying all your qualities and attachment to this material world, give up everything. Then of course Krishna says, Aham tam sarva bhati, I'll free you from everything and I'll embrace you. So we should be trying to pray to Krishna for that kind of love we can develop for Him. And our prayer should be said that whatever my condition is, dear Lord, please don't let me forget you. Don't get my mind all entangled up and allured to the offerings of the material world, as Prabhupada says, the phantasmagoria of the material world. Maya Devi is there and offering all allurements. And we all get very easily allured by this because our attachment for Krishna is not so strong yet. Unless until it is very strong, then we will never be deviated. An example I can give of is Haridas Thakur. When Haridas Thakur was so absorbed in chanting the holy name of the Lord, and by some unscrupulous persons to disturb him, sent a prostitute, beautiful prostitute. And Haridas Thakur says, okay, no problem, you have come to me, I will fulfill all your desires, what you want. I know what you have come for. But sit down. First of all, I have my commitment to chant the holy name. And he continues chanting. Why is he chanting? Because Haridas Thakur is chanting so purely. And he has nothing in his heart except Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his heart. And the holy name. So nothing can distract him. And even the prostitutes were sitting there. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And completely absorbed in chanting. And she became so pure by hearing pure chanting that she forgot what she came for. And she became a devotee. And then Haridas said, okay, now go forth and chant Hare Krishna. So, we have to pray like that. And conclude now on the point. In one purport of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada is saying that we are so fortunate that Brahmante Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bhi, that we are the recipient of that Bhakti Lata Bhi by the causeless mercy of Guru and Gauranga. Without the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, we could have not got this. Without any cause, it's causelessness. So we are recipient. Somehow the Lord has seen us. Say, okay, you have been suffering for billions and billions of lifetimes. Okay, here, take this seed of devotion. Now, work on the seed of devotion and let it fructify as a creeper of devotion till you develop love of God. So Prabhupada is saying that Nam Prabhu has come to all of us. And the Lord, as his avatar, as his holy name, Kali Kale Nama Rupa, Krishna avatar. Krishna has come in his holy name. Is so merciful that whatever your desires are will be fulfilled instantly. And in that purport of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada is saying, be very careful when you're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Because you may be very eagerly chanting Hare Krishna mantra, technically knowing that by chanting the holy name, I will be free from my attachments and I will be developing love of Godhead. So we stick our hands in a japa mala, start chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Very enthusiastically chanting our Ram. Prabhupada said, be very careful. Because now Prabhu is listening and knowing exactly what is in your heart. And what is in your heart, any material desires, any tinge is lurking there. Now Prabhu says, fulfillment. So by the mercy of the Nama, all your material desires will become fulfilled. And your objective will be lost. So this is a very rare gift which has been given to us. We should embrace it and protect it every which way we can. And every time when we are chanting the holy name, we should be mindful of all the desires which pop up in the mind, in the heart. So this is a standard question asked many times by devotees after the class is finished. And the speaker says, any questions? Yes. How can I chant better? Because when I chant, my mind is wandering here, there. This is a standard question. And all of us, we have the same problem. So, the only person who can help us is Nam Prabhu. So we have to pray to Nam, the holy name, to free us from these desires which are manifesting in the mind, which comes from the heart. So, how we can do that? I personally, before I start chanting my rounds, I pray to Prabhupada, I pray to my Guru Maharaj, I pray to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then I pray to Nam Prabhu. Nam Prabhu, I am now going to begin chanting the holy name, the Hare Krishna mantra, which I am so indebted by receiving this mantra. So I am going to chant, but I am going to make an appeal to you that when I start chanting these rounds, whatever is lurking in my heart, in my mind, please ignore it. I am appealing to you. Ignore all that. Supersede that with my desire, develop love for you, chanting your holy name. And then I chant. And then one day I hope, now Prabhu will hear my appeal. It's okay. I will ignore all your nonsense in your heart, in your mind, and I will give you what you want. I will probably develop love for you. Until that, I will continue. On that note, I will stop. And thank you all very much for giving me this opportunity to speak on this subject matter. Although I am not qualified to speak on this subject, it is a highly qualified subject for qualified avatars. But nonetheless, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and Vaishnavas, try to speak something which makes sense. Hare Krishna. Anybody has any comments or any questions? Okay, no questions, no comments, and I will conclude. Thank you very much. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai.